What screams insecurity but most people don't realize? Looking through these comments to see if there's anything you do listed here. When they can give you shit all day but can't take it back whatsoever. Ridiculing other people's achievements. Yeah, but like, is it even a big deal to be queen of the grapes? Like, what even is that? It definitely is a big deal. I'd quite, but I read this as I identify as a big deal, and I'm gonna go ahead and start using this to hype myself up going forward, lol. Never apologizing. Some people will twist the story, change the way it happened and retell it so convincingly that they'll believe their own nonsense, but will never apologize. I struggle with this into my early 30s. Not from a place of narcissism or gaslighting, I hope, but something that came out during therapy. My dad would frequently say sorry isn't good enough to me whenever I did something bad or wrong. It really punched me in the face when I realized that him instilling into me that apologizing wasn't good enough really made it hard for me to do that as an adult. Therapy is wild, man. Edit, I'll clarify because I'm seeing it a lot in the comments. This would be a good sentiment, like actions speak louder than words, except he never taught me that. He ended the conversation with sorry isn't good enough instead of telling me why it wasn't good enough. There was no lesson to be learned at my young age, because he wasn't teaching one. He also absolutely hated any kind of defense excuse, whether or not I was in the right. It was always obey me out of love or obey me out of fear, your choice. I told my dad I'd put myself in a timeout after I got mad and broke something in front of my toddler. My reasoning being that you have to practice what you preach, right? His response, never tell your kid that you are wrong. It made me realize his "I'm right, you're wrong" required obedience was why it always folded before authority. Hate getting into serious conversations where I have to defend myself, always would back down from an employer and not stand up for myself. When I was older, he'd say you have to stick up for yourself, but Dad, what did you condition me towards for my entire childhood? Not to dig too hard on my dad, because we're all often good and shitty at the same time. Thank you so much for writing this. You just made me realize that I have been so stressed out that I reverted to modeling the behaviors that I saw in my mother during similar times in my childhood. I'm not losing my mind, I just need to take care of myself. Yeah, boss. It's okay to step back and take a breather. I think you're destined to do better than you, Mom. We have more information than they ever did, and I see that back to my great-grandfather, who was a hard man, but my grandfather was better and my dad better still, and I try to shuck off the old ways and do still better. It's hard resisting what was modeled by your own parents, but you can. My kids can be defiant and stubborn and willfully self-centered. When I'm mad, I want to put my foot down, but when I'm calm, I remember I want that aspect in their personality so they will fight for themselves. The trick is to balance it, as long as they learn empathy, learn to fight for those weaker, learn to see others as equals, they will be fine, upstanding adults. In terms of leadership, it's when someone can't, or won't, take input from the rest of their team and tries to act like they have all the answers. I was this type of insecure leader once, and I thought that if I used the idea of someone with less experience then everyone would think I was a weak leader. But after I was removed from that position, I had to work for a lot of managers who did a lot of the same stupid shit that I was doing but magnified due to years of insecurity habit karma. I have since learned that if I hear people out, discuss a course of action, go with other people's ideas, and especially give them credit, you gain exponentially more influence and respect. That even people who have little experience should have their input considered. I feel horrible for the people who had to work with me, but now I don't just act like a more capable leader, I am a more capable leader. Shakespearean TL, Doctor, take every man's censure, but reserve thy judgment. When you achieve something or improve your life in any way, and their first instinct is to tease or make fun of you, it actually screams instant jealousy. I went back to school and a judgmental friend said, "Wow, how old will you be when you're done?" I said probably the same age it'd be if I never went back. This is an awesome reply, love it. Always having something negative to say when something good happens to someone else. For example, oh, you're going to hate that new job, or they should have done X instead. Just be happy that someone else is happy. On the flip side, being open about your insecurities and really trying to overcome them is a great character trait. I see a lot of comments here branding common insecurities as red flags, and I don't think one should consider insecurities inherently evil. Being insecure doesn't make you a bad person. It's how you let your struggles control you that defines whether they are problematic or not. Edit, here comes a cliche, but thanks for all the awards. I actually wrote this message the night before my birthday and didn't expect anyone to read it, so waking up to all the wholesome messages and positivity was a very nice present. Thank you all. That is something I only realized as I got older. Everyone has their hang-ups. What I look for in a person is if they have insight into their issues and they are working to make themselves better. Having no insight into yourself and your issues is bad, but not as bad as having the insight and refusing to change your behaviors for the better. Insulting your friend in front of others to be cool. Putting other people down and bragging. Never trust a friend who speaks ill of his comrades. One of my coworkers trashes everyone we work with, and finally one day I asked him what he called me when he was discussing me with others. Exactly. I have a neighbor like this. Has something to say about every other neighbor. One day when she was particularly annoying, I said, "I wonder what you tell them about me?" She avoided me after that. They are so used to not being called out, that they freeze up and then go silent. So please keep calling out bullies. Taking a situation that was never about you or had you involved in it and somehow making it all about yourself and playing victim even though you had meddle in it and make yourself the victim. My wife's boss fired someone recently and has been going on for 3 days about how hard it was to do that. Even calling my wife at home to profess her broken emotional state over it. Girl, you weren't the one who got fired before Christmas, and you could have waited the 2 weeks if it's so much on your conscience. Constantly talking shit on other people for an inflated sense of self-worth. Used to have a friend that was really fixated on bad-mouthing a specific girl. With time I realized that everything my friend hated about this other girl were things she actually did as well, so she was just insecure about her own flaws and projecting. That friendship didn't last long. I had a roommate good friend, and almost every time she irritated me and got under my skin it was because she was doing something that I do that I don't like about myself. It was very eye-opening. When they can't make fun of themselves, edit. Holy yes, the opposite is just as bad, I know. I've literally gotten that same comment about 100 times. Please stop, Redditors, my notifications can't handle it. I had a coworker like this. He loved nothing more than to mock other people and poke fun at them. If you said anything about him, he ran 2 hours so fast Wally West would be jealous. We all got pulled into a meeting one day, without him, and were told that we were not allowed under any circumstances to poke fun at him. We could with anyone else on the team and that was fine, but not him. Not ever. Not under any circumstances. He continued to mock us all the time, and he continued to pile on any time anyone on the team was being mocked for something, but we were not allowed to say anything back to him. It sucked so bad. Document, document, document. Have everyone do it. Then go to our as a group. We did that actually. I didn't care. They coached him and the behavior just continued. Eventually people just iced him out and he was too dumb to realize it. He'd try to butt into conversations and we'd just turn our backs and walk away, and he didn't even get it. Management tried to get him fired multiple times, but the problem is the guy showed up on time and made widgets. There was nothing at all wrong with his work performance other than he could not get along with any of his coworkers or any of his managers. I said you couldn't fire someone just because he doesn't get along with anyone and he's a cancer to the team. This guy would go around behind people's backs and try to undermine them and everything. He was widely hated by everyone at the end, and even then our wouldn't fire him. Management just went out of their way to make things harder and harder for him, and eventually he just quit and everyone was happy. I'm sure he's torturing people at his new job now. I don't understand. He would complain to our and they'd be on your case, but if you complained about him they'd do nothing? Yup. If we complained about him he'd tell our it was just a misunderstanding and we were in the wrong. Wasn't his fault. Sounds like the management and our team consisted 100% of cowards and twats. Management wanted the guy gone. Our at my company prides themselves in working with everyone and never firing anyone. We had one guy who literally did no work. Just watched videos all day long. Took over 2 years before our fired him. It's ridiculous. One engineering job I had for just over a year before finding a better one closer to home. There was a guy who would take a 1 to 2 hour nap every day after lunch, and the time he was awake was mostly spent socializing with people all over the office. If he got even 1 hour of work done in a day it was a miracle. Anyway, he was like that the entire time I was there. My coworkers said he'd been like that for years before I was hired, and he kept his job long enough after I left to take a voluntary layoff of 6 months of pay, which held him over until his planned retirement anyway.